it was Diddy who said that. So yeah, she has to. And it is very telling that she has not been charged with any crime. Why do you think? I mean, if she is allegedly the Ghislaine Maxwell to Diddy in this case, why has she not been charged like Ghislaine Maxwell? Well, I would think it's because she's already cut a deal with the prosecutors. Otherwise, I think it would be game on, and she would be in the prosecutor's crosshairs. So I do expect that she is cooperating, at least in some way, with prosecution, and I do think she will appear at trial.
How do you specifically she would prove racketeering, or help prove racketeering, criminal enterprise? How would she prove the sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura? How would she help prove transportation to engage in prostitution, transporting alleged victims and sex workers with the intent that they engage in prostitution and sex work? What are some of the things you think she'd be called to testify about?
When you have to prove racketeering, you've got to prove an ongoing criminal enterprise, not some ad hoc thing that you do with your friends and acquaintances. An enterprise. Well, if you're going to say that Diddy's record company is part of this criminal enterprise, you have to call the police on that company better. Diddy's right in. She knows, metaphorically speaking, where all the bodies are buried. So when it comes to racketeering, whether there were two predicate crimes, she can provide evidence. She can provide evidence that this is an ongoing criminal operation. And yes, she can provide evidence on the other count of human trafficking to show that Diddy allegedly harbored, transported, and in other ways created this system of force, fraud, and abuse that led these individuals like Cassie to perform sex acts for money. And that's what happens when you talk about human trafficking. It's a commercial sex act, and you need force, fraud, or coercion. Well, that's what we're talking about here. That's the evidence that this witness can provide.
So it came out during testimony that Homeland Security, HSI, they seized a cell phone of Christina Coram on September 16, 2024 at the Park Hyatt Hotel when Combs was ultimately arrested. That's got to be quite telling and very interesting piece of evidence.
Oh man, you don't want the authorities to have your phone. Right? The phone tells all. I mean, in so many cases we've seen where there are new charges that come after the authorities get your phone. And so yes, so you think that you would have to assume that the authorities know everything that KK knows. That's what Diddy calls her. And that's why the fact that she has not been charged tells me that she has been cooperating. She can be called as a rebuttal witness by the defense, or she could, as you said, perhaps she'll be called as a defense witness. That is perilous, though, because if she lies on the stand, that could result in a perjury charge. Even if she cut a deal with prosecutors for immunity, that doesn't cover perjury. So it is a minefield if you call her to the stand as part of the defense. I think perhaps the prosecution has her lying in wait in case they need her as a rebuttal witness.
So I'm going to get into a minute all the times, or a lot of the times that she was mentioned already in testimony, and kind of give us a preview of what she might testify to and how she might be used by the prosecution and the defense. But real quick, as a point of law, the allegations that she's facing in the civil lawsuits, whether she's named as a defendant or not, I think any of that is going to come up in the criminal case against Sean Combs?
Well, it could. I mean, it's fair game if she's called to the stand. The accusations against her come in. I mean, if she testifies against Diddy, Diddy's people can tear her apart by pointing the finger at her. They can try to make her into the bad guy, into her as the one who is trying to save her own hide by coming up with these lies. She's the one being sued, and she's going to say anything to get out of it. So that's the kind of thing you could see if she does turn on Diddy. On the other hand, the fact that she's been sued by various people and really salacious allegations, yeah, that is something that's going to hang over her head, and that is something that Diddy can use against her if she is called by the prosecution as a rebuttal witness.
I want to talk a little bit about how she was already brought up during the course of this trial. So I mentioned George Kaplan. So he testified that he was a witness to the abuse of Cassandra Ventura, victim number one in this case. Prosecutors say that Combs used violence, threats, financial control, intimidation, manipulation to coerce her into commercial sex acts, right? Sex trafficking. And Kaplan said that one time he was on a private plane, heard glass shattering, and he sees Sean Combs holding up a whiskey glass over his head. Cassie's on the floor, her hands are in front of her face. He also said he observed Combs throw green apples at another girlfriend of his in his Miami home. So this pattern of abusing women, important for racketeering. And this is the back and forth question. What did you tell KK? I gave her an account of what I had observed the night before. Did you tell her everything you have just told us? Yes. What, if anything, did you tell her about what you had observed on the jet involving Cassie? I had told her each time that I witnessed any sort of violent act. Did you tell KK about the incident on the jet? Yes. Do you remember being asked about the conversation you had that next day with Christina Korn? Yes. Did you tell her about both of these incidents during that conversation? No. Which incident did you tell her about? The green apples. And earlier, have you told her about the incident on the jet? Yes. What did you tell her about why you decided to quit working for Mr. Combs during that conversation? I think the words I used were that I was unwilling to stand by the behavior. What behavior were you talking about in the context of that conversation with Christina, the green apples, and the airplane incident? Did you tell Christina you were going to quit because of that? Yes. Did Christina say she was going to quit too? No. Did Christina, as far as you know, quit any time after you left? No. As far as you know, how long did Christina stay working for Mr. Combs after you told her about the new incidents that shook you tremendously? I haven't spoken to her in a while, but my understanding is she was working pretty recently. Dave, what does that tell you?
Tells you, allegedly, she was in on the whole thing. I mean, she seems to be the one employee that hasn't broken from Diddy, that hasn't been attacked or threatened. Why is that? Because allegedly she has been carrying out Diddy's criminal enterprise. That's what the government, I'm sure, believes. But why hasn't she been charged? Because she knows so much she could sick Diddy. So I think that's why. Or maybe if they haven't cut a deal with her, they're waiting to charge her afterwards. Like Ghislaine Maxwell was charged afterwards, but from after Jeffrey Epstein. But I think it's more likely that it deals with some of these allegations.
I mean, you don't even know about that?
About whether she cut a deal with prosecutors? Oh, yeah. That's always that's what it is. Credibility of witness saying, oh, you're here for credibility agreement, right? You're like, you cut a deal with prosecutors, right?
I am.